Life is uncertain. Eat dessert first. Being the research nerd that I am, I thought, hey, where did that actually come from? Because I'd heard a couple of things. And the earliest use of it by, this is really an odd one, and I don't know if anybody here remembers, a guy by the name of Arthur Murray, who was the dance, uh, he was considered the ultimate person of ballroom dance, and that, of course, may have been a Southern California phenomena too. But that was way back in 1962. And he declared about, don't let your good fly by you while you're being caught up in quote responsibilities. And his take, because he was a ballroom dance fanatic, was get out and dance. Get out and let your body be free. Use that energy. And so it's about not um, not getting caught up in all of the uncertainty. And interestingly enough, if you really look at how far back there's this concept been around, everybody that went to school probably encountered Carpe Diem, which was from Horace in something like 20 something BC. And that was pluck the day. That is, uh, grab this moment. uh, you Life is uncertain. It's why I always recommend to people, make sure that you don't go to sleep without your loved ones knowing you love them. Always remind them, because there's no promise that tomorrow will be, they will be there with you. There's no promise you'll be there with them. And so don't don't procrastinate with being alive. A lot of times people will talk about, well, don't procrastinate with about your job, your responsibilities, your tasks, your whatevers. Don't procrastinate about being alive. There was a book many years ago, and the title was I Will Not Die, an Unlived Life. And yet, many of us get so engaged with tasking that we forget that it may not be about living. And that takes some differentiation, because sometimes doing the task is the thing that brings you joy. And if that's the case, then you're on track. You are eating your dessert first. You are taking advantage of the moment. But I want to take just a little sidebar. And this whole month has been focused on the national theme about divine doubt. And the more I thought about divine doubt, the more I started dancing with, hey, that's a confusing concept, because the divine does not doubt. The doubt is not part of the divine. So then, is the divine doubt about doubting the divine? And I'd ask kind of a Dr. Phil question, how's that working for you? Uh, because when we doubt the divine, then we we're separating ourselves from it. When we lean in and remember what we are as individuations of it, then there's no space for doubt. There's only connection. And psychologically, hey, doubt's a super good topic in the psychology realm, because you can have all different kinds, but they identify 5 specific kinds of doubt. And that's factual, where you're questioning the facts. There's emotional of, can I trust my own emotions? Volitional, and that one's all about how do I am I making the right choice? And then there's a relational one about how do I fit in my world? And then, of course, there is the existential or spiritual version, and that one is, do I trust the spirit, or is my faith strong? Do I trust that I am an individuation of spirit? is going farther with the existential aspect of it. Is there a God? And then you can dance around that one and go, is there God as I believe, as I use that word? And that is an unlimited creative power that is expressing itself in, as, around, through, and throughout all it is. And so, or is yours an anthropomorphic God? Somebody that I would liken to Santa Claus that keeps score and gives out gifts or withdraws gifts. And so doubt can come up in all of these. And it's back to how do we relate to our circumstance? How do we get along with what is going on? So, interestingly enough, and by the way, today is, or actually somewhere in the month of May, is Wesak, the high holy days of Buddhism. And depending on which thread of Buddhism one follows, it's anywhere from the 8th of May, the 5th of May, the 31st of May, the 24th is the Theravedic. But so what that is a day, this high holy day that is celebrated on the Buddhist calendar, and that celebrates the birth, the enlightenment, and the passing of the Great One. And it's wrapped in the reflection and mindfulness and compassion and recommitment to spiritual practice. And so, in looking at that, the Buddhist perspective on doubt or uncertainty, and the Christian. And what's very interesting is they are totally different. Because in the Christian tradition, the question is asked, can I trust amid uncertainty? And in the Buddhist tradition is, can I be present amid in uncertainty? Because their belief is based on impermanence. The Buddhists believe that this is it, that we are not permanent, and that nothing is permanent, and that how we cause ourselves suffering is by attachment or demanding certainty. But certainty, uncertainty, is the outpicturing of doubts. All those doubts that I listed, and in Christian teaching, of course, there's doubting Thomas, and his was, gotta see it before I can believe it. And then there's also reference to those who believe and yet still doubt. And then there's another whole layer of that's when the centurion, this is a sort of conflict within the centurion. Lord, rid me of my unbelief. That is, clear me of my doubt. So there's trust in the Lord and uncertainty and doubt. And so those two are coexistent in that individual. The thing to remember about any aspect of doubt, is that it can be paralyzing. Have you ever been in a situation in which you froze physiologically and or mentally, emotionally, and said, I don't know which direction to go, so I'm not going to go at all? Okay, that's the antithesis of what today is really about. Because what today is really about is living in the moment. As Gail stated, you know, Life is uncertain, eat dessert first, and it's not about sugar. It's it's about perspective. It's about uh, letting go of the propensity to judge, because when we are caught in judgment, what happens is then we are focused on that instead of being alive. And so, what this funny little cliche is all about is change the way you look at things. And this Wayne Dyer came up with a nice, uh, a real easy way to remember it, and that is change the way you look at. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And so, since life is uncertain, we don't have a choice of how can we trust. It's we must trust. We must actually proceed with our lives as though we were certain that we have to live in the moment, because it is uncertain, which is a fun way of, the one thing we can count on, the one thing that is certain is that uncertainty is where we live. How we live in it is our choice. In our Science of Mind teaching, of course, it says what you focus on expands in your experience. So, do you want to focus on and be paralyzed by the idea that, oh, things aren't, I can't predict how it's going to be? Or do I want to be alive in this moment? Do I want to set the intention of my life? Do I want to go and take advantage of all those meditation and prayer opportunities and get clear about what is it that brings me joy? What is my dessert? What is my desire for having a joy filled, wonder filled experience of this existence, since it's the only one we've got? Now, reincarnation maybe, but for what we know about it is right here, right now is the life we have. And while you're on the uncertainty and doubt, well, maybe there is reincarnation. Okay, are you going to spend your life focusing on a maybe, or are you going to live in this moment? In, are you going to be celebrating whatever it is that's right here? Or are you going to be caught up in a tangle and swirl of uncertainties and doubts? And I recommend that you avoid succumbing to them, because it's kind of like a sucking vortex. And I can speak for myself. If I take that swirl and feel that downer, I have to consciously say, no, that's not where I'm going. I have to make a conscious choice declaring, this is how I choose to live my life. I was in a conversation recently, and the person I was talking with said, well, it's so hard to not get caught up in that swirl. Yeah, I agree. It can be really hard not to get caught up in that swirl. And how does that serve? If I get caught up in the swirl, then all of my energy is going towards a state I don't desire to experience. And so I have to do what's called breaking state. I have to be the one that says, no, that's not where I want to go. That's not the life I want to have. And that requires discernment. It requires focus. It desires a lot, sometimes flat out stubbornness. Because sometimes we have to have this choice that says, I am not going to go along with the drama around me. I am not going to let a relationship or anything else in my life pull me down, pull me away from what brings me joy. And so I have to discern that. And then I have to put my attention on what I desire. Because if I don't put my attention on it, then I'm distractible. Boy, am I distractible. Anyway, I have to put my attention on it because I know that that will magnify my experience of it. When I put my, the cliche in science mind is that which we focus upon expands in our experience. Well, if you make a point of putting in your focus what you want to have expand, then you're eating dessert first. Then you are putting your choice of desired experience in your conscious awareness, called top of mind awareness. You're changing your relationship with, quote, uncertainty. You're changing your relationship with being alive. Again, I was with a different friend not very long ago, and I love that lady dearly. And her entire focus is on awfulizing, awfulizing, physical situations, awfulizing people in her life. And when, and I think, I'm so sorry, and I wish I could wiggle my nose and make it different. But I know that I, on the outside of her, cannot do the change work inside of her. I can love her into it. I can support her in having a different perspective. And mostly, I can love her just the way she is. Because there's truly nothing she needs to change, certainly in the relationship with me. I love her no matter what. On the other hand, I would desire for her that she use the tools that are available and change her relationship with what she doesn't want. And that may sound incredibly simplistic, and it's not necessary, and I don't claim it's easy. No way. But it's essential that we choose. I'm going to sidebar myself. Okay. If we choose to love ourselves enough to recognize what brings us joy, and we live from that. Imagine a world where everyone was living from their joy. And it is as simple, because when we're all living from love, when we're all living from that joy, then it is the human nature for us to give. And the more we give, the more we engage with others, the more they give, because they're not because of required reciprocity, but because their heart flings open and they have this desire from deep within. And that desire ignites this doing and good and all this cool stuff. And it all comes down to when, now, focus or where on bringing bringing out the joy within myself, so that when I bring out the joy within myself, I bring the joy from those in my environment. It becomes a magnetic interchange, and it's all about choosing. So I ask you the question, what do you choose? Are you waiting for the perfect time to live, to be alive, so that you won't get to the end of things and with that declaration of I wish, instead of I will not die an unlived life? How alive are you in this moment? Janice Danfield wrote, sings a song which we're going to be blessed with in just a few moments. And it's all about all the, I cannot do all the good the world needs, but the world needs all the good I can do. Now take that with life is uncertain. We can't wait to give. We can't wait to eat dessert first. Oh, by the way, I have a crazy friend who years ago started a thing at Asilomar, which is um, the Center for Spiritual Living summer camp kind of thing for grown-ups and kids. And so she started grabbing her dessert first, and pretty soon all the tables were grabbing the dessert first. So anyway, that was about sugar. Anyhow, it's about how are you showing up? How are you showing up? Where are you? How are you being? This is all just stuff that you can ask yourself and no one else. And so if we go into the stillness now for just a few moments and drop back to a part of what Gail read, and do this affirming that from this moment on, you will eat dessert first. You will focus on that joy. You won't procrastinate. You won't dilly-dally around thinking, well, I'll do it tomorrow, because it is uncertain. You may not be here. I may not be here. Your loved one may not be here. And so dropping into that stillness, I know the divine spirit is operating through me now. I am not limited by anything that has happened or by anything that is now happening. I am entering an entirely new set of conditions and circumstances. That which has no limit is flowing through my consciousness into action. Divine Spirit is acting through me. There is no doubt or uncertainty in my mind. I stand amidst the eternal waves and let the winds of God blow full and free. And so, life is uncertain. Eat dessert first. Celebrate everything you possibly can first. Be so mindful in each moment that you do what, most of my students know about God spotting, but see the divine alive and alert in everything. Let that joy arise within you so that you sparkle. And then have a cookie. I love you all. Or a piece of pie, or some cake, or you can join me in a pile of whipped cream and blueberries and raspberries and more whipped cream and more berries, and because that's where the good stuff